Hey Internet, what's up? So I have a really fascinating tumor. Spoiler, I'm not dying or anything. I mean, I'm dying, but the same way everyone's dying. A couple years ago, I started having a lot more phantom pain. Phantom pain is the pain that I feel in this leg, the leg that does not exist. Now, to understand the next part of the story, what I need to do is take you back even further in time. About 12 years ago, there was a double arm amputee named Jesse Sullivan who had an experimental surgery wherein a surgeon at Northwestern University took the nerves that were originally going into his arm that were now severed, and he implanted those nerves in his pectoral muscles, allowing over time his brain to control the pectoral muscle as the nerves kind of grew back into this region. Then, when he was fitted with a prosthesis, the prosthesis had little electrodes that go on his pec so that he can control the movement of the fake, like, robotic arm by essentially through his brain, right? By flexing his pec in different ways that moved the arm. Most amputees feel the sensation of their leg or arm or whatever part of their body they might be missing, and some amputees feel significant pain in that body part. You've been told growing up in preschool that you had 5 senses. That's a lie. You have way more than 5 senses. For example, you have a sense called Proprioception. That is your sense of balance. That's the sense in your inner ear canal that gets messed up when you spin around, when you get dizzy. You have a sense called Proprioception. That is the sense that is relevant for us here now. That is your sense of your body in space. That is the sense that allows you to close your eyes and be able to find your nose, because you know intuitively through this sense kind of where your nose is relative to where your hand is. Now, it turns out that proprioception is hardwired, so to speak, into your brain, so that if you lose a body part, and this includes not just limbs, but an ear, say, or a nose, your brain is still looking for sensation from that part of your body to come into your brain. Obviously, there's no sensation there because that thing doesn't exist anymore. One way I like to think of it is if you imagine your brain as a person sitting in a security booth in a large building that has a bunch of TV feeds coming in from different security cameras around the complex, and there's a heist happening. Our heist team snips the camera, and now what comes in on that TV screen is static. So you might think of an amputation as something similar in that the brain, which is the security complex, is now getting a static signal, in this case from my leg, and that causes pain. Now, there's lots of other reasons why people have phantom pain. I had a lot of phantom pain right after I lost my leg about 20 years ago, and then over time it sort of dissipated. But then it started getting way worse more recently. I went to a lot of doctors. I did physical therapy. We thought maybe it was something with my lower back that was sort of pinching the nerves down here. It's a difficult thing to investigate pain in a body part that doesn't exist, if you can imagine. After about a year of this, as the pain got worse and worse, I did one of my favorite hobbies, a deep dive into Google Scholar. Yeah, have you tried this? There's a lot of interesting peer-reviewed journals out there on the internet. So I read a ton about phantom pain, and what I increasingly came across were these occasional case histories of amputees who had been an amputee for 20, 30 years and started to experience phantom pain. And it turned out that phantom pain for them was caused by something called a neuroma. Now, a neuroma is anytime a nerve is severed. This might be because of amputation, obviously. You could get neuromas from burns, where the end of the nerve is cut off. People, commonly non-amputees, can get neuromas in their feet, and they can become very painful. Your nerves are kind of magical, right? They try to regenerate over time. They want to grow back, and they want to reconnect to other nerves, right? They're lonely. They want to make friends, or they want to find surrounding muscle tissue. They want to have something to control again. It sounds very similar to the nerves in your brain, doesn't it, as far as human behavior? But so the nerves here in my leg will want to grow back because they were cut off. And what can happen over time is that those nerves are growing, but there's nothing for them to grow into. So they just keep growing and growing over years, 10 years, in my case, 20 years. They just sort of ball up and form this nervous tissue mass. It is literally a nerve tumor that forms over time of just a bunch of nerves like wound up in a tight ball. I got an MRI, and sure enough, I have a neuroma tumor right about here. My leg is amputated from the hip, so I have my whole hip intact, but where my femur would have come in is where the leg is removed. And I have a neuroma on my sciatic nerve. The sciatic nerve is the biggest nerve in your body. It comes down here and it goes out into both your legs. And around your hips, it's actually very thick. It's almost like a centimeter thick. And at the end of my sciatic nerve, there happens to be a little tumor. Actually, it's not that little. It is 3 centimeters across and 1 centimeter high. If you're into food metaphors for tumor sizes, as most people seem to be, it is the size of a chicken McNugget. So yes, by sitting here, if I lean more weight onto this side, I feel tingling in my non-existent left leg, like a pain, like a kind of needle prick sensation happens down there. Now, here's where our story all comes together. Remember I mentioned Jesse Sullivan, the double arm amputee who had the experimental operation at Northwestern from a surgeon named Dr. Greg Dumanian. As it turns out, after Jesse Sullivan had his nerves reattached into his pectoral muscles, not only was he able to control prosthesis, he stopped having phantom pain. Pretty interesting side effect. So Dr. Dumanian theorized that maybe that could be a treatment for phantom pain. He then went to the Department of Defense and got a large grant to perform a similar operation on amputees coming back from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. That is, not necessarily to control a prosthesis in their leg or arm, but simply to take the severed end of their nerves, the neuroma, and attach it inside surrounding muscle tissue, giving that nerve the sensation or the idea that it is now attached to something so that it doesn't have to keep growing and getting a static signal to send back to the brain. Sorry, the battery ran out on my camera right at the most climactic moment of our entire story. Earlier this year, I went to see Dr. Mani, and he thinks I'm a great candidate for his surgery, which he calls targeted muscle reinnervation, TMR for short, and next week I'll be traveling to Chicago to have that surgery in which he will excise, that is, cut out the tumor, and then he'll take the end of my sciatic nerve and reattach it into the surrounding muscle tissue, which in this case is my glutes. So as I record this, which happens to be Thanksgiving Day, I'm in Florida visiting my wife's family. Her parents live here. I am thankful this year for what I hope will be a successful surgery that will reduce my phantom limb pain and help me sleep better. So, pretty fascinating tumor, huh? I thought you would think so. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We should hang out sometime.